Hey, what is going on, you guys? It is Shiji here, and welcome back to another gameplay commentary. Today, we're going to be talking about Far Cry 4. Now, the reason why I want to talk about Far Cry 4 is because I just finished the campaign not too long ago, and it's still fresh in my mind, and I really enjoy the game, and I really want to talk about it, so that's pretty much why we're talking about it. But before I get into the commentary, I just want to let you guys know that I will be doing spoilers. There will be spoilers in this video based on the decisions that I made and the ending, so if you guys don't want to hear it, I suggest you leave now, but just a heads up. Now, the mechanics of the game was very similar to Far Cry 3. There really wasn't much of a difference between 3 and 4. I think the only thing that was different was the grappling hooks, which was really cool. I enjoyed that new feature. But other than that, there really wasn't much of a difference with the games. But what I really want to get into is the story, because from Far Cry 3 to Far Cry 4, there was kind of like this shift in how you look at the game. Just to let you guys know, I've only played 3 and 4, so I don't really know much about the first and the second one. But coming from Far Cry 3, your main villain there was Voss, and he was just a lunatic. And he was crazy, and he captured rich-looking people and held them for ransom or sold them off as sex slaves. And you knew that Voss was a villain. You knew Voss and his higher-up guy, I can't remember his name, he was a villain. They were villains. You knew that. And you wanted to free these islands from these people. And every time you ran into Voss, it was always something so ridiculously evil that was going on. Like, I remember in the third one, you had to crawl out of a pile of bodies, and that was so gross. But every time you ran into Voss, or ran into the other guy, I can't remember his name, Voss's boss, they were very evil. But then you get into Far Cry 4, and the main antagonist of this game was Pagan, who was basically the ruler of Kyrat. And in the game, there's kind of a civil war going on with the Golden Path trying to free Kyrat from Pagan, who was being a tyrant, I guess. But that wasn't your main goal. Your main goal of the game was to take your mother's ashes and scatter them at a shrine. That was why you were in Kyrat in the first place. You weren't captured, you weren't, gonna be sold off. Nope, you were just there to fulfill your mother's wish. Now, you did end up getting captured by Pagan, but for some reason, when Pagan was talking to you in the very beginning, it didn't seem like he was really evil or wanted to kill you. And even throughout the game, you don't really see much of Pagan. And when you do end up getting captured by him, it wasn't like he wanted to kill you. He just kind of held you there because of all the stupid shit that you're doing and blowing people up and stuff like that throughout the game. So it wasn't like he was really evil. And by the end of the game, you find out that he really isn't evil, and that he was in love with your mother, and that your father, Mohan, who was the leader of the Golden Path, was just a total dickhead and killed Pagan's daughter, who was also your half-sister. The whole thing was just a big turnaround compared to Far Cry 3. The tone was a lot different, especially with the villain. Far Cry villains are always really good. They're always evil. Now, granted, I haven't played the first or second one, so I can't really say that. But the third one was evil. Pagan really wasn't. And as you're playing the game, you have these two characters, Amita and Sabal. Basically, they're the two leaders of the Golden Path, and they have kind of different viewpoints. Consider it was more like Amita was a very progressive person. She wanted a more liberal take on Kyrat and the government, how it was run, while Sabal was more of a conservative, wanted to keep the religious aspect of Kyrat. So you can look at it as Amita was a Democrat and Sabal is a Republican. So you kind of had to choose one or the other. You can't balance it out, right? And I really hated that. I really hated how these two characters made you decide one or the other. Because those are the kind of decisions that you can't really make on the spot like that. And I know that it is a video game, and it helps the developers, if you're going to choose A or B and which path the game will take. But it kind of also put that feeling that these two characters weren't really all that good. Pagan called them terrorists, and in a way, they kind of were. They were blowing up towns and destroying all the radio towers and stuff like that. And to be honest, I didn't really like either one of those characters. Because you learn a little about them that, well, you learn a little evil with Sabal if you chose with Amita. So here's what I did. The majority of the things that I chose were for Amita. I think there were only 2 decisions that I chose that were first of all. So I think I ended up destroying like the opium fields and then something else where I blew up stuff. But the final decision was Amita, and I ended up killing Sabal. Which at the very end, it seemed like it didn't matter because Pagan didn't care who you killed or who you went with. The real decision was whether you would kill Pagan or not. And at the very end, I let Pagan live. And Pagan let me live. And while I still consider Voss probably one of the best villains in video game of all time, I think Pagan, I can't really say Pagan was a good villain because he wasn't a villain. I mean, he fed you crab ragoon. What kind of villain does that, right? But I mean, at the very end, he did leave you alone and he did leave Kirat to you. You pretty much get the country because he ends up running off and takes his helicopter with him, actually. But not too long ago, I found out, it was kind of an accident, but I found out that if you actually, in the very beginning of the game, if you stay in the house where Pagan has you for dinner, if you stay there instead of running off with the golden path, he actually comes back and he takes you to the shrine, and so that way you can scatter your mother's ashes. And then that was like one of the secret endings that you can have in the beginning of the game without having to go through all of like the shenanigans that the golden path goes through. But that was kind of like the thing with Far Cry 4, was that you didn't have a feel or a need to destroy everything. Even though I actually did. I ended up liberating everything and I destroyed all of the Pagan's Wrath trucks and stuff like that. But it felt kind of weird because I felt like I didn't have to do it. Because I didn't have this like urge to really want to destroy Pagan. Compared to like Far Cry 3 where you had an urge to destroy Voss, even though you loved him at the same time. And I hear that a lot of people didn't like the story or the villain or the characters as much because of that feeling, because it felt very empty of what you were doing, right? You were just there to do what you were supposed to do or do what you're told, and you don't really have this need to do it. And as I was playing the game, I actually ended up questioning why I'm doing this in the first place. Which is really cool with the game because you don't really have that feeling a lot of times. A lot of times when you're put into a game, you do it because you have to, because you feel it with your character. But you don't really feel it much with this character. And it was kind of clever in the way they do it. I know some people might say that, no, that means they just did really bad writing. But when you look at how Pagan is, and how Amita and Sabal is, and your history with Pagan, or your family history with Pagan, questioning it was really a good thing. Whether it was intended or not by Ubisoft, it made sense that you question what you were doing. Now that's pretty much what I want to go through with the story. It was a really good story. I really enjoyed it. But looking at the gameplay, again, like I said, the mechanics are very simple. It is a first-person shooter. You can use other things like bow and arrow and stuff like that. And again, it's just a very simple first-person shooter. But there was a lot more things that you can do in Far Cry 4 compared to the third one. There's a lot more little quests that you can do throughout the game. And also when you liberate a post, that post can actually become attacked by Pagan's army. So sometimes as you're running off from a post, you'll get a call saying, we're being overrun, and you have to go back and kind of save it. It gets kind of annoying, but it gives you something to do. And sometimes there's too much to do, because there is a lot of things to do in Far Cry 4. I finished the campaign at 25 hours, and I believe 34%. So I still have quite a bit to go. But yeah, there's a lot of little things that you can do. There are karma events where, you know, you rescue a hostage, or you help rebels fight the army, or little things like fighting like the lions and save rebels from the lions. You get karma points, and you can use those points to hire rebels, and they can help you, you know, take a post or something like that. But again, there's always a lot of little things to do in this game, and if you're only planning to buy one game every 6 months, this is really a good game to choose. But yeah, that's pretty much how I felt about the game. It's really well done. If you look deeper into it, a lot of things to do in this game, and it's just overall really fun. But that's all I have to say about Far Cry 4. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and if you have yet to subscribe to Mr. and Mrs. Gamer, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. But that is it for me. I will see you all next time.